Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I'm going to be potting up some Weeping Willows. I ordered these online for about $15 and it came with 5 cuttings. You can see one big cutting and 4 smaller ones. So I put them in water and it's been about a month and a half or 2 months since I bought them, and as you can see they're all rooting out and growing plenty of foliage. So I thought today would be a good time to pot them up. So I'm going to start with the biggest one here, and I'm going to be putting it in its own pot. Just going to do a little bit of root pruning just to make sure it fits neatly in the pot. I have done some root pruning on this already a couple of times, so as it's grown in the water container that I had it in, as it reached the edges of the pot, I just trimmed it back, and as you can see it's really a lot of fine feeder roots, so I'm highly confident that this one is going to survive. The soil mixture I'm going to be using today is a combination of roughly 50-50 turfus or fuller's earth and pumice. They say on the instructions that I got with these that you probably shouldn't put these immediately in bonsai soil, but I am going to be keeping this indoors and under a grow light as opposed to outside, at least until winter's over, so I can keep it a bit more watered than I do the ones I have outside. So I'm hoping that this should be good, especially with this one. It has, like I said, it has a lot of fine feeder roots, so it should be good. Just making sure that there are no air pockets in the soil and that the soil gets in between all the fine roots. And time to give this water. Give it a lot of water, make sure that it runs out of the bottom of the pot clear, just to make sure there's no fine particulate left in the soil. And then, like I said, I will be keeping a closer eye on this and watering it more frequently than I normally do. Okay, and here is the first and biggest one. As you can see, it's looking pretty nice. This is a pretty good sized pot. I like the color combination. So far, this is looking like it's going to be a really nice bonsai. And on to our smaller cuttings. So, since there's an even number of cuttings and it's a pretty low number, I am going to put 3 of these in one pot and keep one of them on its own. As you can see, this one here has some dieback. You can see there's like a yellowing color. So it's dyed back from that cut point up at the top. So I'm just going to cut off the dyeing section, and hopefully that'll stop the dieback and it can start to heal over instead of continuing to dye back. Again, you can see this one is dyeing back at the top, so I'm going to cut that off and keep the healthy shoots down at the bottom. I'm also just going to clean up the tip on this one as well. Again, giving it an angled cut so that when it does heal over, it has a more smooth transition. Again, cleaning up the top on this one as well, just giving it an angled cut so that it has a smooth transition when it heals over. Now I'm going to sort the roots out, just get them untangled and trim off anything that's excessively long so that it's not circling the pot over and over again. Okay, moving on to the next one. Again, just trimming up the roots a little bit so there's nothing super long wrapping around the pot. And the next one. last one. And now I'm just going to go ahead and try to arrange the cuttings in the pot. I'm going to go for a sort of clump style arrangement here with 3 out of the 4 of these smaller cuttings, and try to arrange them in a sort of asymmetrical triangle form. As you can see, I'm actually just kind of looking at them with all 4 of them in there, just to see what it looks like. It is very obvious that it's an even number, and typically in bonsai you do want an odd number if you're going to do a clump style or a forest. If it's more than 5 or 6, it's really hard to tell immediately, but since there's only 4 here, it's really obvious. Your eye immediately sees that it's an even number, so I decided to just go with 3. And I ended up keeping the larger of the 4 of these as its own specimen, and then doing the smaller of the 3 as the clump. That way, if these smaller ones do end up not making it, it's not the end of the world. And I think that larger one has a greater chance of success, so I'm going to keep that one as its own. And now that I got them roughly in the orientation that I want, just adding in some more soil to hold them in place. Again, this is the same 50-50 turfus and pumice mixture that I used for the larger specimen tree. And again, just using this little piece of wire here to poke down soil into any open pockets that might be underneath there and get everything worked into the roots really well. Here you can see from the side angle, I'm trying to get that largest one in the middle sort of more angled towards the viewer. So that way there is a 3-dimensional aspect from all sides. It doesn't just look like, a row of 3 trees in a line. It actually is more interesting arrangement than that. Alright, now that this one's potted up, going to go ahead and give it a water. Again, making sure that it runs out clear out of the bottom of the pot. Make sure no fine particulate is left in the soil. And make sure everything's thoroughly saturated. And again, I'm watering these several times a day just to make sure that they're always fully saturated, so that way it doesn't shock the plant going from a total water environment to one like this where there's lots of aeration in the soil. And here you can see the clump arrangement that I have. It's looking pretty nice. And now I'm moving on to the last cutting. I ended up choosing this small little plastic pot with a bunch of holes poked in it. This isn't very ideal. Again, you do want, or it is recommended that these don't go straight into bonsai soil at all. So moving it into a bonsai soil in an extremely aerated pot is probably not the best idea, but unfortunately this was all I really had. That was an appropriate size pot to put this in at the moment. So again, I'm going to be keeping this indoors under a grow light and watering it several times daily to make sure that it doesn't dry out. So fingers crossed that this turns out good. So far, it's been a few days since I actually did this work, and so far it seems like it's doing well, so fingers crossed. Again, just using this wire here to work the soil into any air pockets and well into the roots. I actually ran out of soil at this point, so I ended up topping it up with some decorative rocks just to fill the rest of the pot. And here's a look at the last one all potted up. I have high hopes for this one. It's looking really nice. It's got some nice curvature to the trunk, and it's a little bit thicker than the other one, so I'm hopeful that this will make a good specimen tree one day. And here's a look at all three of our plantings. As you can see, there's some various different aesthetic choices for each of these plantings, but they all have the potential to be really nice bonsai. This is a really great material to work with. I hope you give it a shot. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.